Welcome, everyone. This is Doug McCall, coordinator of the Global Network of Deans of Education. It's my pleasure today to present an overview and update on a joint statement on school reform prepared by several educator organizations who are active at the global level. The intent today is to provide an overview of that statement, as well as an update on various activities that can use the statement in global discussions. You can find the statement at the website shown in blue on this screen, rebuilding, renewing, transforming school systems.org. And I encourage you to go to that website to read both the statement as well as the slides and recording of this presentation. There are web links within the slides, which will be useful for you to follow in terms of some of the things I'm going to be saying today. The educator organization, educator organizations who develop the statement. The statement is based on several principles, which are listed on the screen as well. Inclusion and equity are the core values, and seeking results for every child or meeting the needs of every child is a really important part of excellent school systems. They call for a better balance among the various school goals and accreditation criteria defined by Dolores way back in several years ago: learning to learn, learning to do, learning to be, and learning to live together. And primarily, it's about meeting the needs of the whole child, so the child feels safe, healthy, challenged, and so on. And there's lots of different models of the whole child. We use the one prepared by one of the partners in this process, ASCD. A remarkable global consensus as to what school systems should be aiming for, both in terms of recovering from the COVID pandemic, but as well as aiming for the future. One emphasis that the statement provides is trying to seek to establish whole of government structures, policies, and practices to be able to sustain interministry partnerships so that education can address the many health and social and economic problems confronting schools and students in a way that is supported by other ministries. These three challenges or processes are typical of most of those statements around the world: rebuilding after COVID, renewing the commitment to the Sustainable Development Goals of inclusion and equity, and transforming school and other systems for the future. The statement goes a bit beyond those three challenges, or goes into much detail on those three challenges, which is not always the case in most statements at the global level. Often expressed in very general terms and lofty language. As practicing educators, the statement places more emphasis on details and specific steps that need to be taken. And so, for example, in rebuilding after COVID, it's most of the discussion of that level of that challenge at the global level and in many countries has not really gone beyond opening and closing schools. The challenges of learning, remote learning, providing health, food services, and so on when schools were closed, and so on, and in many cases, providing mental health services to students. The statement goes beyond that to suggest that multi-intervention programs on infectious diseases, which needs to be in place for the next pandemic, needs to be thought about. And that includes core curriculum and health and life skills education, as well as social and emotional development through extracurricular activities, strengthening vaccine policies, better use of immunization campaigns or emergency campaigns in schools, and recruitment and retention of educators into the profession. How many difficulties countries have in achieving them. In many ways, the expression saving the furniture, I was born and raised in Quebec, and the expression sauver les meubles, which is saving the furniture in the face of disasters and disruptions such as COVID or other kinds of disasters, is a popular expression because it's often the case as systems rebound from different challenges and emergencies. Rebuilding after COVID is almost disappearing off the public discussion in many, many cases. The emergency seems to be forgotten in many instances. The WHO discussion about vaccine supply and intellectual rights to vaccines and so on ended up with a vague and somewhat disappointing end. The UN General Assembly Declaration on Pandemic Preparedness is underlying the challenges to being prepared for the next pandemic. And UNESCO itself has been also not really addressing health and life skills education, which is comprised of basic health literacy, vaccine literacy, and a concern for others, and not promoting a curriculum for health and life skills education. So we need to think about how challenging and how difficult it is to rebuild after COVID, and how little we have done on the SDG commitments to equity and inclusion has also been noted as very challenging. UN agencies often use the word accelerate when they really mean recover or get started again. And so you can see in some of the text in here that the world is not making progress towards the 2030 goals as it's been expressed in either in goal 4 or in other parts of the 17 goals in the Sustainable Development Goals. There are 90 transforming systems for the future. There's one thought that I'd like to emphasize in the situation as it exists now. The analysis of the pre-Transforming Education Summit national statements found that very few countries had even considered the development of whole of government approaches, where interministry actions are guided by an overall government approach, probably led by a first minister or designated agency. That's emphasized in the statement, a vision statement prepared by the UN Secretary General, and in the guidance note, which followed up from the Transforming Education Summit. That key element of a whole of government approach, in other words, coordinated policies, coordinated strategies, and coordinated structures, has not really been addressed in most cases. And the current country dashboard, which is a very good document, a good website to look at, is important. They are looking in, sorry. There are several opportunities to promote the thinking in the joint statement. There are local events and reports and external and internal reviews and changes in governments and ministers. All of us in education will recognize those local opportunities in countries and states moving forward. There is always an opportunity for big and small changes, and so we need to take advantage of them. There are also several activities, UN activities, OECD activities, UNESCO activities, which can provide an opportunity for making timely suggestions based on the kind of thinking which is expressed in the joint statement in a variety of forums, always transforming education systems. To close with an example where we can all take action in our own way, we are going to be suggesting to the group of educator organizations that we do a joint presentation to the Comparative and International Education Society Conference in next March 2025. And we'll be suggesting that the kind of approach that looks at saving the furniture needs to be taken urgently. And we'll follow up with a journal article or articles on that session, or emphasizing the content of that session, and we'll be suggesting an open letter to the UN General Assembly and to the UNESCO on how people need to think about saving the furniture or taking some immediate steps to be able to truly get back on track in terms of the 3 challenges presented. There is a discussion of the what, in other words, the kinds of steps that can be taken, the elements that need to be considered, the actors who are in place in both inside the system and outside the system, and the mediators that are important to have an influence on transformative education change system. And so the Global Network of Deans of Education is putting out a call for a brief summary, a series of summaries, 1 or 2 pages, on each of the elements that need to be considered. There is a background paper on the statement website, which provides some of the details that are referred to here. Taking that kind of overview can be seen in this complicated table, but it's basically the kinds of things that affect change across systems. You have the different levels on the left-hand side, and the side type, you have the influencers, they have the education system sector, you have the other sectors, you have context, which includes resources and culture and laws and rules. Then you have elements, of 22 different elements that we've identified thus far, and we have both large and small steps that can be used to both improve and transform systems. This diagram is explained further in the slides, which will be on the statement website, as well as there's an expanded version which can be used to get into more detail. If you're looking for more information about the statement, be pleased to, you can go to the statement website itself, as well as the Education Dean's website, or you can contact me directly. Thank you again for your attention, and I look forward to working with you to promote inclusion and equity in all systems around the world. Thank you.